Here's our video for 1.2. Continuing on some of the basic things we need to have here in geometry. Your very first couple postulates are going to be part of this section here. As we go over them, we'll talk about what a postulate is and kind of how things work. But the idea here in your opener for 1.2 is to find the measure of each segment in the picture. Very fundamental, basic idea. Just putting your pieces together, figuring out what's missing. Right? So a couple pieces we're missing here. We know that AC is 40. We know AB is 12. We know CD is 18. So we are missing, looks like we're missing part BC. We'll need to figure out, we can figure out BD is a piece we're missing. We are missing AD, the whole thing. We'll need to figure out. Right, so taking a look at the way this works is right now, if we know that AC, this piece here, is 40 units long, and then the portion on the left from A to B is 12, then the portion on the right has to add up to get us our 40. So 40 minus 12, we get our 28. So BC is 28. Now that we know that BC is 28, we can find our other two. For B to D, we're going from here to here. So we take our 28 and we add our 18 to it. Right? 28 and 18 gives us our 46. So BD is 46. Right? For AD then, the whole thing, B to D was just 46 as we said. Well, we have to add in this left piece that's here. We have to add in this AB. A to B was 12, so when you add it up, we get AD to be 58. Right? The idea there is adding those pieces together. That's going to be one of the postulates we go over. As we talked about, a postulate is a rule that is accepted without proof. Right? It's something that we just is so basic we just assume is true. Right? That's the idea of a postulate. Your first one there will be called our distance postulate. What your distance says is that the distance between 2 points is the absolute value of the distance between those 2 points. And essentially what that means is if you measure the distance from yourself to a door or yourself to the wall, and then you measure the distance from the wall to yourself or the door to yourself, that distance is not going to change. Right? It doesn't matter whether you go forward 2 steps or backwards 2 steps. You have gone 2 steps. Right? You may end up where you started, but you have still traveled a positive distance. So the idea behind this postulate is the idea that distance can never be negative. It is always positive. Your second postulate is actually essentially what we did in the opener. It is known as your segment addition postulate. Now, the way it reads, it says if B is between A and C. So draw yourself a little picture. B needs to be in between A and C. If that's the case, then A to B, this part 1, plus B to C, this part 2, will have to equal A to C, which is your whole thing. Right? That's the idea behind segment addition. Taking a look at your notes then. Taking a look at your example, go through, find QS and PQ. So P to R is 55. Q to R is 31. So to find P to Q, which is one of the pieces we are missing, we have to subtract instead of add. So 55 is the whole thing minus that QR, which was 31. We subtract them out, we get P to Q to be 24. For QS, which is the other one they're looking for. We take our Q to R, which was 31, and we add our 30 to it. So we get 61. So Q to S was 61. P to Q was 24. So segment addition works both ways. You can add two segments together to get the big segment, or you can take the big segment and subtract one of those small pieces off to get the other small segment. You can do it either way, whichever way works best for you. Right. Continuing on then. The idea of things being congruent. Congruent segments are line segments that have the same length. Right? Both are 5 inches long. They're going to be congruent. The way we mark things to be congruent is we put tick marks on them. Now, it doesn't matter how big the tick marks are. Whether in this triangle on the left, it is a single tick mark with a single tick mark. AC is going to be congruent, and the symbol for congruent is an equal sign with a little squiggly mark above it. That is going to be our abbreviation for congruent this year. AC is congruent to AB. Even though the tick marks are different sizes, it's about how many of them are there. Likewise then for your other triangle, since there's 2 tick marks on each one, ED is going to be congruent to EF. Now, your last question here in 1.2 wanted you to take these 4 points and I want you to plot them. So plot your 4 points on that graph paper that's there, and then I want you to tell whether those are congruent or not. So plot your points. We got JK is there, LM is there. Now, in order to go through and find a length of a horizontal or a vertical line, we can just count how long those pieces are. So J to K we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we say JK is 5 units long. For L to M we also count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So LM is also 5 units long. Since both are 5 units long, we can say that JK, and remember your abbreviation here, is congruent to LM. Right. Here's your homework tonight. Very short homework assignment. All right, kind of getting into the swing of things here. Pages 12 and 13, the numbers that are there. Numbers 16 to 19, 21 to 26. Right. If you have questions, concerns, like I said, we have the rest of the 40 minutes here. We can go back and address anything from yesterday, today, last night's homework, tonight's homework, right? That's what these lessons are going to be set up to do for us. So if you have any questions, please make sure you ask.